Hey everybody, welcome to U3-L2, the Persian Empire. Your job, you're going to watch this ed puzzle, answer the questions. Questions that I ask you during the video today will be in blue text, so those are just the ones that I want you to type on the ed puzzle itself. Follow along with the study guide as well. Important concepts on your study guide will be in red text. And of course, if you have questions, please email your teacher or come to office hours. We are here to help you out. All right, learning targets. Students can identify the geographical range of the Persian Empire, explain characteristics of religion in the Persian Empire, which today we're going to talk about Zoroastrianism, and identify major rulers of Persia. Wait a minute, Miss Corey. I opened up this folder and said ancient Greece. Aren't we supposed to be talking about the Greeks? Yeah, we are, but I will tell you this. There is a lot of intermixing between Greek civilizations and the Persian Empire during ancient Greek's time period. So we got to talk about the Persian Empire, or else you'll be like super lost when we talk about some of the famous wars. All right, so let's get started. So some of the basics. Persian Empire, also called the Achaemenid Empire. I don't know why I could not say that right now. And it lasted from 559 to 334 BCE. And there are some really famous rulers that come out of the Persian Empire. So the big three are going to be Cyrus the Great, Darius the First, and Xerxes the First. There was other rulers too, but they're just like the very, very famous ones. It also ended in 334 BCE when Alexander the Great conquered Persia. We'll talk about Alexander the Great at the very end of this unit. One of the other things that the Persian Empire is really known for, as you can see here, like having the winged bull, it was also a symbol of the Babylonian Empire, but the Persian Empire brought it back to style. All right, so here's a map of the Persian Empire. So it starts off down here, which is what is modern day Iran. So you can see that it's along the Persian Gulf. And then over time, like we'll talk about, up until Alexander the Great conquers it in the 300s. This is the extent of the Persian Empire. It's huge. So it goes all the way from over here on the Indus River Valley, which is what modern day India is. It goes over by the Caspian Sea up to the Black Sea. And if you look over here, oh my gosh, that's Greece. Yeah, they even conquered Greece at one point of time. And then you can see it curves around the Mediterranean. And look at this. It even goes south enough to go into Egypt. So kind of bring all the stuff that we've learned so far kind of together. So it was a vast empire, and we won't be spending that much time on it. And I feel bad, but that's just how it is. So the original homeland was in modern day Iran. That area is really rich in things like copper, tin, iron, gold, and silver. And they conquered old but massive empires and land. So at that time, Anatolia was an easy target. There wasn't really an empire ruling it, so Persia took that over, as well as the old Babylonian Empire, the Assyrian Empire, and the Egyptian Empire. All right. So there is one thing about the Persian Empire that a lot of people kind of mistake. So in textbooks and people with surface level knowledge of the Persia or of Persia think of the Persian Empire as evil. Why do you think some people may think that? So it's all about the resources, 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 and a lot of biases. So most of the information that we know about the Persian Empire comes from the Greeks, and there's a problem with that because Persia really, really wanted to take over Greek land, which they would eventually do. We'll talk about that in a few slideshows from now. Greeks are really mad at Persia, and they talk smack about Persia. So that's why a lot of textbooks like depict the Persian Empire as like some sort of evil, is because the resources we got them from really hated the Persian Empire. All right. So let's talk about the first ruler. Well, he wasn't necessarily the first ruler, but he was like the most popular ruler that really kicked off the Persian Empire. His name is Cyrus the Great. He ruled from 559 to 530 BCE, that is. He is really famous because he organized the Persian Empire into three social classes: the warriors, the priests, the peasants. So the warriors going to be the aristocrats and the royalty. Then it's the priests, who are the religious leaders who performed a lot of like sacrifices, like animal sacrifices. And then the peasants, which would be like the villagers, farmers, and shepherds. One of the really kind of cool things that the Persian Empire did is once they conquered a land, okay, they respected the local religions and traditions. So, like them conquering Egypt, they didn't say, "Oh, Egypt, your religion is wrong. You have to do our religion." They're like, "No, keep on practicing your religion," um, which is kind of the cool thing about the Persians. All right, next up we got Darius the First. So he ruled from 522 to 486 BCE. He's famous because he conquered land as far east as modern day India and as west as modern day Austria and Germany. I know the map didn't see that quite as much, but it did go slightly into what we would see as kind of like Austria. And it expanded the Persian navy. One of the other really cool things he did, especially for the Egyptians, was to build a canal connecting the Red Sea and the Nile. It is called the Canal of the Pharaohs, which was, you can see right here, it went from the Nile all the way to the Red Sea, which you think like, oh, that's kind of cool, but think they didn't have machines like, with the building of the Panama Canal. They had to do that all by hand. Um, so it eventually dried up and closed in 767 CE, but even to this day, you can see like the big dugout, like scar in the earth of the canal. All right, then we have Xerxes. So he was kind of like the last really famous ruler. We'll talk about him when it comes to the Battle of Thermopylae. So he ruled from 46 to 465 BCE. Um, so I remember this from last year. I put this in the slideshow and I was like, oh, there's at least three streets named after him in the Minneapolis metro, and I don't know why. And students were like taking notes very vigorously, and they're putting that on their study guide. You do not have to put that bullet point on your study guide. I just thought it was funny. Sometimes I get bored making these. But it's true. There are a lot of streets in Minneapolis named Xerxes. You can go Google Map it. Um, he was very respected and made buildings in honor of the Assyrian kings, although his predecessors were the one that conquered the Assyrian Empire. And then we'll talk about him later in the Battle of Thermopylae. All right, so one of the most famous archaeological areas of the Persian Empire is called the stairwell at Persepolis. So it is called Apadana, which is in a massive event center building that Darius the First and Xerxes built. So you can see right here. So it would be like, guess it would be like the equivalent to like the Minneapolis Convention Center or something like that. Like that was like the place to have like parties. It was the place to have other events, like diplomatic events. It was really an important area. It had rich people's weddings, it had coronations, funerals, and New Year's festivals. So that's pretty cool. Every inch of the building, inside and out, is decorated in reliefs. And what reliefs are, you might have remembered this from the Egypt unit, but they're shallow etchings on the wall. So they're like they're kind of 3D, but they're not paintings, so they're not 2D either. So here's an etching. So you can see that, right? Like you chiseled a little bit out, but it's not like a 3D statue, um, but it's like textured. All right, so anyway, here is a question for you. What do you notice about the reliefs in this picture? What are these people doing and what are they carrying? So what are they doing? What are they carrying? I know it's a little hard to tell. That's okay. Again, I don't ba base or grade these, your answers, like to some of these questions, on if you're right or wrong, just like if you give me an educated guess. But what they are is they're people in the relief represent real people in real life. So let's see here. Can I go back one? Every single one of these like persons is a real person. Like the artist based them off a real person that lived in the Persian Empire. So they're typically people who are ambassadors for other nations, nobles, or members of the court. So they just weren't anybody. They had the money. Most of them are carrying animals for sacrifice or carrying gifts to bring to the Persian rulers. All right, so next up, we're going to talk about Zoroastrianism, which is like one of the most interesting topics I think that we cover. So what it is, it's a religion that Persian rulers practiced. This is really the famous symbol of it. So this is a like Zoroaster, who is their one of their key figures with the wings. Yeah, so their symbol is quite unique. So Zoroastrianism is an ancient religion. Why do people care about studying it? So let me ask you this question. Why are ancient religions important to study? So I will tell you, and I think you'll figure this out by the end of the slideshow, why they are important to study, because a lot of religions are linked to each other. Um, So, Zoroastrianism, let's just learn about the basics. So, it is a religion that the Persian rulers practiced. It is still around today. It is not very popular. There's only about 100,000 people in Iran and India that still worship it. There is a small community in Illinois that also worships it. It was the first long term monotheistic religion. So, I know we talked about Judaism last unit. That would also be one of the first long term monotheistic religions. And it was created in 1700 BCE. So the god is Ahura Mazda, and he believes that humanity is in a constant struggle of good, which would be the god Ahura Mazda, and evil, which would be the devil. Individuals are rewarded or punished for good or bad behaviors in the afterlife. Um, and also, as any religion goes, it's just a good use of a justification to conquer new territories. So Darius would be like, hey, my Zoroastrian priest and the god tell me to conquer this land. So I'm going to conquer it so everyone can be ruled under justice. Yeah, that happens with all religions, by the way. All right, so they're also super environmentally conscious. So human excretion, like poo and pee, couldn't contaminate bodies of water. They also had fire, which was worshipped at altars. You can see that right here. So that's a really, really important and sacred symbol for them. The dead were buried or eaten by wild animals because they believed fire was way too sacred to cremate the bodies. But rotting dead bodies were too unhealthy for the top of the earth because we don't want human excretions nor decaying bodies into the water system. I mean, so they had a plan. All right, so they also believe in one god and devil with demon followers. They believe in a heaven and hell. They believe in a Messiah. Messiah is a savior to a group of religious people. The end of time comes once the Messiah comes. Their holy text also talks about the 6 days of creation, that God made the earth and everything else. They have a covenant, which is a religious promise made with God and a mortal human whose name is Zoroaster. And this is a picture of him right here. All right. So, other things about Zoroastrianism. So, they celebrate the winter solstice on December 21st. And to celebrate it, this is what they do: they decorate their houses in red. They cut down pine trees, like this one here, put them in the house, decorate them, and leave gifts under them. They also gather with family and friends to share gifts and food. And when Zoroastrianism was a young religion. People also worshiped the Assyrian god Mithra, who was born on December 25th, and they also decorated trees in Mithra's honor. So, is that sounding a little familiar? Yeah, right? So, this is why studying ancient religions is important, because a lot of aspects are intertwined. I know you're probably like, it is not Christmas yet. It's not even Halloween yet. Like, come on, slow down, Miss Corey. I know, I know. All right, so historians do relate Zoroastrianism to the Abrahamic religions. The Abrahamic religions include Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. We'll talk more about Christianity in the Rome period and Islam in the India period, or unit that we do. Zoroastrianism started about 1700 BCE, and it really hit its height in the 500s BCE, where the Torah, which is the Jewish religious text, was written about 450 BCE. So there's definitely some overlap between the two religions of when they were popular. And rest of Judaism or Jewish religion may go back all the way to 2000 BCE. So it might be even older than Zoroastrianism. Like, there's a lot that historians have to research. Oh, here's also a really cool fire temple that they have. I didn't put where that was located though. Okay. Wrap up. Today we learned about the Persian Empire, Cyrus the Great, Darius I, Xerxes, and Zoroastrianism. So next up, you're going to do U3-L3, the geography of ancient Greece. There is nothing to write in your study guide. You're just going to answer all the questions on the Edpuzzle. Now, I do look at all your Edpuzzle answers, so make sure that you're answering the Edpuzzle. That one I am judging if you get the questions right or wrong. It's not one of my videos. It's one of the Edpuzzle videos. So that one I will be stricter with grading. But if you have questions, you can certainly let me know, or Mrs. Hinkle. After you do U3-L3, you're going to do U3-L4, Ancient Greece Basics. If you have questions, email your teacher, either me or Mrs. Hinkle. If you want to learn more, feel free to contact me. I always am happy to share more information. My office hours are Monday from 12 to 1. I won't have office hours next Monday. So the week that we have MEA, where it's just a 2-day week, I won't have office hours that day. But if you need me, just email me, okay? Mrs. Hinkle's office hours are going to be Wednesdays from 2 to 3. And if you're in my class, don't forget about the weekly check-in. All right, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. Bye.